fee, and that was just to get the tractor to go past the storage.
Right. And that and $1, I'll get you a cup of coffee. Back then, maybe a nickel.
Okay, I call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is approval of minutes from March 7th, 2017. Is a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 7th.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, on page 1, where it talks about Mr. Stromolo's report, it calls it a phase 1, but if you actually look at his
Title.
his information to the board, he actually called it a letter of opinion on February 9th, not a phase 1.
Okay.
So if you could change that to that. And then on page 1, paragraph 7, if you could correct the spelling of my last name. In page 2, it says Selectman Bramley moved to waive the reading of the entitled resolution. Did you mean entire?
I think that's the way
Or
Mr.
because
Frost
he was
wanted
saying it was-
He had a
Entitled,
certain, he had all those motions spelled out in our protocol, so I think
Okay,
that's what
'cause
he
it might
likes.
be because it was titled a specific way.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it's, yeah, because of,
Okay, that's fine. And then on page 3, on page 3 under public comments, it talks about the letter received from Judy. Could you say Judy Herkimer? That's it.
Okay. Additions to the,
Well, we have to vote aye.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Additions to the agenda. Item 1, West Cornwall Firehouse update. Conservation Commission website. Beach Director job. And then 824 referral, planning and zoning. For the bridge funding, town meeting.
Oh.
Then I had a letter from Ben Gray about snow plowing.
Do we have it on communication, or should we have that as
I
additional?
thought we could, because it might cause a general discussion, we could put that under additions.
Sure.
Move addition of those items.
Second. Or you seconded? No, that's your addition. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Communications, are there any communications?
I had just read something in the paper about towns and the states requiring underground fuel tanks to be removed. Do we have any?
We do, but they're fairly recent, but we,
So they're not part of the 30-year plan that they have said towns need to
I'll
remove
try
the
to-
underground tanks by
I'll
that?
try, I'll get you a report at our next meeting, what the date was. I think they're approximately 20 years old. They were all done. We did move some up out of the ground, but there is an underground one here. Above ground, we excavated the ones at the highway garage. So there's one here and there's one at the West Cornwall Firehouse, and that's actually one of the things we're thinking of doing under upgrades.
But are they part of the state's requirement that they be removed, or they are outside of that
I
requirement?
don't know. If you give me more information about that, I'll
No,
let you
I
know.
didn't cut it out, but I will try to get it. Okay.
Okay? Any other communications? Any public comments from the public? Understand Karen's here. And are you here for the website?
I am.
So we don't put you at the end of our agenda, we can actually welcome you and have you go first. And you're welcome to stay for the whole thing, but we can go on for hours, so if people make an effort to come, we'll make an effort to get to you first.
Very
So I did talk briefly with Pat Mulberry this weekend about the Conservation Commission wants to do a website. And I believe I forwarded you this thing for the selectmen. And you're Margie?
I am Marty.
Marty. Okay.
Well, it's a hard G.
What?
It's a hard G.
Margie, sorry. Margie. So, you're here to answer questions about the website for the Conservation Commission. Are there any questions? The only question I talked to Pat about was just that we tried to consolidate information on the Cornwall CT.org website. So have you talked to them about incorporating your efforts as a link there so that it's obvious to people where things are?
Well, not as of yet. I mean, we figured the first place to start really would be the Board of Selectmen, and just to let you know that we've been developing this website, and the purpose really is to provide content and educational materials regarding the natural resources of Cornwall. The next step, with everyone's approval, would be for the section that we have preliminarily as links. We would love to link to the town's website, and we are contacting entities with the hopes that they will consent to that, so that we will be able to sort of share. And we're hoping to be able to promote the many things that are wonderful and special about Cornwall, and then have a little bit of an exchange that way.
Right. So,
Well, to add a link, yeah, I mean, you have a resources and links tab. So
Correct.
you could put Cornwall CT dot
Well, absolutely.
or whatever right underneath.
Absolutely.
that.
Well, that's right now on our tentative list. Actually, Cornwall Town website is the first website in our links, and we would choose to feature our local and regional organizations, and we sort of view them as potential partners in terms of be it programming or sharing information, or the Conservation Trust. But again, it's a permissions thing, and you have to make sure that other entities are willing to share information or to allow for that linkage. Sometimes they allow it, and I had a conversation with Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station the other day, and they said, sure, fine, a link to our site is fine, but in terms of providing direct content on your website, we would prefer just the link, because they want us to use their website.
Right.
So again, it's a
It's
permissions.
a public website, you can link to anything.
Well, yeah, but people get a little, it's interesting. The responses have been interesting. So, again, it's a work in progress, and we hope that the Board of Selectmen will be happy about the development of this.
is there a cost to all this? Or if you're not under the Cornwall CT?
Of course. There's a domain name cost, which was $45 for a year, and then there was also a web hosting fee, which for 1 year was $96. So it's a total cost of $141. And everything else, content will be generated. Some of the content's already developed. Additional content will be generated by volunteers and by just continually looking for material that's appropriate.
So is there a reason not to be under the Cornwall CT website? I mean, can you at least
I think it's
explore
more
that?
volume. I think it's volume. It's volume of material and timeliness of updates. So I don't know. And I presume that there's a cost to the town's website. So if we're asking to have pages and pages and pages of material and huge reports and videos and other things posted, that may be expensive for the town.
I
And
think there
so,
was a cost. Is there a cost?
well, I don't know what the fees are for the town's website, but we're sort of doing this on a volunteer basis. So
Right.
we're giving time to the Conservation Commission.
So a key component would be checking with cornwallct.org and seeing how they would want to coordinate your efforts.
Absolutely.
Some of that may already exist on their website.
Doesn't the Economic Development Commission have their own website?
Yes, but not to the extent that they're just, I don't think.
But they got their own website, they didn't even ask us or consult us or let us know, they just did it,
Correct.
right, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's
I'm sure
actually a
there's links
website as
from
far
one to
as
the-
what they were doing was more a media promotion than it was an actual.
It's still a website to their,
Yeah.
to them,
Discover Cornwall,
right,
that's what they've done.
right,
Oh, cool.
so. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know
I'm
if there
just-
needs to
I'm
be
just
a,
saying.
does
I
it
mean-
matter, do we need to have a discussion on different committees and if they wanna have their own websites?
I just think it's generally better to have, I mean, there is a place on the Cornwall website that says town offices, commissions, boards and commissions are on there as a thing, and so
Right.
I'm just thinking as a user, it's probably better to have things centralized in one place unless there's a compelling reason not to, but I mean, if they have a compelling reason not to, or if there's a way to do it, it's more effective, that just,
But if you're on the
I thought-
website now and you get to the Economic Development Commission, can you click on that to get to their Discover Northwest CT website?
I don't know, I
But
haven't
I
been
mean,
on
like
recently.
share it back and forth, so like you get on
I
their
would hope.
website, they can get to Cornwall, if you're on the Cornwall website, you can get to the
There
Economic Development
are-
Commission, and the same thing for you guys.
It does appear that there are a few entities, so when you go to the town offices or organizations section
Right.
on Cornwall's website, there are a few of those links which are,
Right.
effectively
Right.
hot links that will take you
Yeah,
Mhm.
to
to
their.
another website, but,
Right.
I definitely see these as potential drivers, back and forth and an exchange of material. Right now, the only information really that the Conservation Commission has on the town website is the wonderful bulletin that was done in 2012. And so it's the first bulletin, and that's the only, other than the names of the commissioners, that's the only content. And there are wonderful maps and there's information.
All of this is great, and I think it's a great idea, and I don't think the selectmen have any problem, and I think you're right, whether they need to ask our permission or not may be debatable, but as long as you are, our advice, I think the advice would be that coordinate it with
Right.
cornwallct.org, and you're good to
As
go.
much as you can, yeah.
I think there's, make sure there's not duplication of effort on anybody's part, because nobody needs to work twice as hard. Hard
Oh,
enough is
I'm
hard enough.
absolutely amenable.
Great,
I think
All
it's,
right.
that's great. It's
good
a
initiative.
good thing.
Thank you.
Send us the
Okay.
link when you have it live.
Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed and no fooling, no joke. We're hoping to go live on April 1st. But,
Okay,
hoping, so,
Good.
great.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Margie. Also, this is Karen Nelson, land use coordinator. One thing that came up with our bond council for the bridge rehabilitation effort, it's going to be at a town meeting on April 7th, is that we have to, because we're borrowing money, we have to apply to planning and zoning for an 8-24 approval of the projects. So that's news. Normally when we fix bridges, we don't have to go to 8-24. But next week, I believe, is the rescheduled meeting, Karen, and I plan to be there. So I'd like a motion to authorize me to go to planning and zoning and request their approval, 8-24 referral of the project to them. We normally do this if we have to acquire or lease land to make sure things are consistent with the town plan. Are bridges mentioned in the town plan,
Yeah.
Karen?
Well, bridges aren't really mentioned in the town plan, but it's called health, safety, and welfare.
Got it.
I apologize, I'm having a hard time talking.
Is the 824
It's a
referral that we're,
It's a finding and determination that is
that's within the town.
Not what is consistent with the town plan.
But my question about the bond council's concern, is it the bridges per se, or is it the borrowing of the money?
We're borrowing the money.
So we're really asking.
It's just another step that we have to do to go through this process.
So it's the borrowing of the money part of it, not the actual reconstruction or
Right, if we
repair.
were borrowing money to build a new school or a new highway garage, we'd
Same thing.
have to go through this approval process, which is generally manageable.
I just wanted to know the aspect of, which aspect.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize me to go to planning and zoning with an 8-24 referral of the subject of the town meeting borrowing $1.5 million to repair bridges in Cornwall?
So moved.
We actually don't get involved in the cost, but the fact that the project, the plan, which reflect what we've done. So, we have that entire document up on the PNC website, if anybody's read.
The resolution.
The resolution?
No, I had the whole bridge report.
Oh, the bridge report. Good. Okay.
Did you make that
I
motion?
made the motion.
I'll second the motion to authorize Gordon to do that. First selectman to do that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we're back to the regular agenda. We had the biggest snowstorm of the season last week. Town came through it quite well, I think, for some areas had 20 inches of snow. There was reduced visibility. Our drivers, we added a couple. Well, we added a driver. We used the our extra trucks, and Jim Bannicky came back off sick leave to drive one of the smaller trucks, and we were able to keep all the roads open. There were some 3-foot drifts in East Cornwall, and very tough plowing and visibility conditions, but our crew stayed with it, and said we were able to keep the roads open throughout the storm, so that I think worked out pretty well. Terry Burke did activate the town's emergency Facebook page and was posting updates. He said he had several hundred hits on the site, so I think that's a pretty effective way to get people updates about what was going on. As in this type of situation, you're never quite sure how it's going to play out until it's all done. So anyway, he's did a very good effort keeping in touch and keeping people updated. So anyway, things worked out well. All the equipment hung together, and got a couple of replacement drivers work well and stay on the road most of the time. A couple of trucks went off because it was heavy pushing, but people worked together and got through it.
Good.
Okay.
Were there any reported power outages?
No, and it was nice because it was so cold and light. The snow didn't seem to. There were no really black trees or.
But definitely windy.
Yeah, it was blowing. It was very low visibility there on the middle of the day.
I think
And I
that
think also the people, there was a lot of, say Terry also called the people on our call list, and there was good cooperation with people not going out in the storm, because sometimes the roads were down to a single lane, and there was just a couple cars that got stuck and had to be pulled and things, so it was good cooperation all around. Hopefully that'll be our last one for a while.
Yeah, there was just that, right after that storm, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there was a tree branch on a line, so 23 of us up on Flat Rocks had we
Okay.
kept getting these brownouts.
And then-
Finally, Friday afternoon, or Friday night, like 10:30, they finally fixed it.
Okay,
So that was all that I had heard of.
right? Yeah,
And that is certainly the second component to any of these big storms, getting in and out of transportation or access, keeping the roads open, and then having power, whether that be for heat or refrigeration or lights or whatever, safety, and they both worked out.
right. Okay, next we have a request for the Sidney K Fund of $500 to support the Cornwall Cooperative Farm Market. So the committee considers this request and recommends $500 transfer from the K Fund to the Cornwall Cooperative Farm Market because the purpose of the enterprise conforms to the purpose of the Sidney K Fund to benefit the community as a whole. Ginny Potter, Chair, and Lynn Skoll. There was a motion to approve the recommendation of the Sidney K Fund.
How's the Sidney K Fund, we authorize it under?
We act on the recommendation.
Act on the recommendation.
I've never seen us not support their requests. We have an advisory committee we appoint, and then they take applications and forward them to us for our final approval.
Do they usually, or have they in the past, given money for something that would ultimately be for profit? It doesn't really say what the farm market's gonna use the money for, did it?
Let's see, I didn't even read the letter of support. Insurance, advertising, special events.
Oh, so we did
So there are
actually-
things, there's quite a few community events planned, I believe. So. Motion to support the request.
Sure, I'll make a motion that we support the request of the, authorize the Sidney K Fund disbursement.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Do you accept points of order,
Not until we have public comment.
even though it's a point of order
Yes.
under Robert's rules?
Yes, we don't run our meetings by Robert's rules.
Okay.
Okay?
What do you wonder?
General parliamentary procedure as customized by the Cornwall Board of Selectmen. We don't stand up when we make motions and things. There's things in Robert's rules. Generally, we apply them, but there are things in Robert's rules that are, say you have to do, that we don't do. Okay. So where are we?
You
Under discussion?
call the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, to Ben. I met with Jamie Littner from Eversource this week to talk about the Ben project, their property, and we exchanged some ideas on a possible lease proposal. And I have some updates from town council under executive session to tell the board. And that's about as far as we got with the Ben in the last 2 weeks. Any other comments on the Ben? Budget 2017, 2018. Board of Finance has met the last couple of weeks. They have taken this week off. They are having their next meeting on, I believe, the 10th, which is a Monday, after the town meeting. And the town budget hearing is on the 21st of April. Let's see, anything else on the budget?
Time on that?
7:30 PM at the school, Joyce, budget hearing. And there should be a draft of their budget available after their meeting on April 10th.
The April 10th meeting is,
Their special meeting, they've given some requests to the Board of Ed, and they've had some still work to be done on the revenue pictures as far as what's going on with the state proposals for revenue, so they've got to tie it all together as far as some of the revenue stuff, although the budget hearing itself is just on the expenditure, isn't it so much a hearing on the revenues, but they figure in a couple of weeks they'll know more, especially after the town meeting, April 7th.
our town meeting.
Yes, on the bridges.
Right.
So I think what they're gonna do then, at that point, they'll recommend a budget to the town for a budget, for the budget hearing at that point.
They don't have to specifically meet after the town meeting for support of the borrowing,
No,
because they've already,
the town meeting says we wanna do
That's
this,
the
then
final step.
that's the authorization. The Board of Finance has already come out in favor of that
right,
proposal.
they just happen to
So-
be meeting after it. It's
Right.
not specifically to approve it in any way.
Correct, yeah, but if that expenditure will also affect the town budget, so that will help.
Yes.
They'll know what number to put in on their bridges, so, more. Let's see, next Cornwall,
Well, so still on the budget,
yes,
we had some discussions on other organizational support.
right,
So where are they at on that? I mean, some organizations ask for additional funding.
right,
Is that in the budget now that that's being considered, or is it,
They
are
came
we still
close.
at the 2016, 17 numbers? I mean, last year we used to get all these updates of any changes, this year we're getting nothing, so I don't know
right.
where
Our,
everybody's at.
they haven't changed our budget up or down since we presented it, and when we presented it with the organizational request intact, so we did not cut child center, library, gear. We gave it, I believe we put in their full request. And that's where it sits at this point. The only discussion that they've had is initially that they felt this was a fairly modest amount of money for good public organizations. And that's as far as they got. So it didn't sound like they had a problem with increasing organizational support.
So the organizations that asked for increased support was in the budget that got presented to
Mhm.
them, and
Yeah,
that's what they're working on
Yep.
right now.
yes. So those three that I mentioned had an increase, and there might be some other smaller increases.
Right.
So that's what they're working on. Didn't seem to be a big issue compared to some of the other
Some of their stuff.
big issues, high school numbers, school numbers, bridge numbers,
Hartford.
Hartford,
Yeah.
Hartford,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, no, I think, I think they were satisfied with our budget being lean, but they liked the idea that we were increasing some support to some things that really benefit the town. Okay, anything else on the budget? Cornwall Crosswalk, I did have a discussion with a man at OPM, who's in charge of the Main Street money grant concerning the crosswalk, the flashing lights. We had an estimate of $6,500 for engineering and $15,000 to put in the light minimum. So we have about $30,000 available. There is a several-month period that DOT apparently can't take to review these. Plus, we have to think about where, so I asked him, can we get money for engineering? He said, no, you have to come up with that yourself. So, we have a $6,500 amount to come up with. And at this point, I don't have a great source of that, and we can think about that. wanted to see how we came through the last storm we had. We are over budget for snow. We did have this $20,000 bridge report, and we had repairs on a fire department truck. We pretty well took out our, between all that, we're sort of at our contingency level.
What was the repair on the fire truck?
When we took truck 3 down, and we had it sandblasted the frame to get more year, to control the rust, so we can get more years out of it. That was about $7,500.
It's undercoated, sandblasted
Yeah.
and undercoated.
So that amount is, we haven't been notified by the fire department that they need that, but we earmarked that in case they have a,
It wasn't something where they
Close
were out and out on a call and something happened.
no, it's preventative maintenance on the truck.
I think to extend its life, to
Right.
extend its,
Do we have to do all that engineering on that crosswalk? I mean, we already have a crosswalk. Can we just
But these are,
enhance the crosswalk?
to get flashy lights, it's a big deal,
Really?
really.
we're
Yeah,
talking about the
I mean-
state of DOT.
Yeah.
Right, and also as I walked across the crosswalk today, the crosswalk currently goes right into that island by the store. And you have to have a level, accurate crossing to your crosswalk. It's a big deal because you have to have a little platform for somebody to push the button.
Mhm.
So it's gonna take a little bit of,
So you have to move it
you
a
got to
little bit,
move,
finagle
yeah,
it a
yeah,
little.
somebody's got to figure out how that's all gonna be accommodated, because even a slight grade has to be, then there's some sort of ramp, so you can reach up and hit the button. I don't know why you can't put the button down lower, but there's all sorts of little wrinkles that happen.
Do we have like a count of how many people would use that per day to see if $21,000 is?
No, I don't have an account. So. There's other thoughts too that came up out of the economic development group about doing a visitor kiosk there near the store, which would cost considerably less than $21,000. It may be possible to pursue some smaller projects in the same general area.
Oh, with that grant?
With the
instead of
grant, they
pricing?
pay for kiosks, they pay for welcome to Cornwall Bridge signs or whatever, but they wouldn't pay for, they pay for hard stuff, they won't pay for personnel.
That money is still earmarked for us?
Yeah, for now, yeah.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
That's only a
It may
year
grow.
out or so, so that's not that far out.
No, but there, things are happening in Hartford. And he did say that, anything that's not, his recommendation is get it done by July 1st. Or let me have a new calendar. So I'll just put that out there that we'd have to find other places which are possible to do it. So that's my update on that one.
How much is left in that grant?
Around 30,000,
This is the sidewalk grant,
yeah.
the Main Street grant.
Let's see. Next, additions to the agenda, we have West Cornwall Firehouse. The fire department is looking at some changes to the West Cornwall Firehouse. With the advent of our new ambulance, it's bigger, longer than the older ambulance, and it's a little tight. Put it in the traditional bay, which is right first door in from the main part of the firehouse. So it's been relegated to the back, which is okay, except in snowy weather and a little bit more to get to through the boat and over the coat racks and things. So it's not an ideal setup. So the fire department has been looking at that inside the building, and we put a generator on there last year, and the old generator was inside the building. Again, not a great design. It's still there, not being used. There's a utility room behind where the ambulance is, so that has the furnace and it has the old generator. So the thought is they looked at this with fire marshal and building official and mason, taking down the cinder block wall of the old utility room, making more room, floor space, cabinet space, and being able to relocate the ambulance back into a bigger space, basically better space utilization within the existing footprint of the West Cornwall Firehouse.
Where does the furnace go?
Furnace goes point of history is that actually the firehouse has actually already been expanded once. That the original part is the front part with the meeting room and the bays, and the back part, which is the steel building, was put on 10 years later in the 80s or 70s. So there is this entryway between the two sections of the building in the back. So where the garbage dumpster is and there, so there is this sort of dead alleyway that the authorities thought could accommodate a heating system. So you take out the old generator and you take out the furnace and you upgrade, because we have that big propane tank, you go from oil to propane, which again,
And dig up the underground
and
tank.
so we're doing three things at once, which is sometimes dangerous, but I think it has a lot of compelling reasons to do it. Again, we're not increasing the footprint of the building, it makes it more user-friendly for the ambulance.
Is there a chimney there?
There's a chimney, but apparently you can go outside.
Right, with propane, you could take the chimney right down.
Right, you can just take the chimney down and just go out with a pipe or whatever you do out the back. So it sounds like it has merit, and we don't have prices yet. There is some money in the capital projects for fire department equipment.
How old is is it a boiler or furnace?
I think it's actually a boiler.
All right.
Isn't that one of the ones they look at, Joyce? Yeah, so
How old is the
it's
boiler?
old.
So,
yeah.
so that's another reason.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
another reason
it needs
upgrade
to happen even, we would need to upgrade it anyway, plus with the energy
Right,
audits,
that's-
this is something that to be done. And the other thought too was, while we're there, to make some of the improvements the energy audit talked about is not adequate insulation over the meeting room, which causes an ice jam over the front door, and just basically do a good upgrade of the place. So anyway, so they're working on that, and again, it's probably gonna be a long-term project, but it seemed like it had merit and would come to us sooner rather than later. That we
Where's
probably could transfer some money.
Where's the tank, the oil tank?
The oil tank is out the back, so it's on the far side of the building from the road, near the generator. So it's like, it's on that side of the building. You know,
Is it past the generator?
No, so here's the firehouse, generally. The generator is here, and the front bays are here, the meeting room's here. There's another bay here, this is where the ambulance is. The fuel tank is here, generator's here, septic tank here, field's going like that, little tight. So there's some good reasons to get rid of that.
That alleyway, that alleyway's like right in here.
Yeah, the alleyway is right there, connecting the two buildings. So it sounds like it has some potential, and again, would be a good upgrade and do 4 or 5 things at once. So we're working on prices. We can make the ambulance get to calls easier. I think that's a good goal.
So where is the ambulance is in this
The
big?
currently it's in the back bay, right back in here, which,
So you have to have a lot more plowing out to get to it.
yeah, and it's also not a direct, backing up is a bit of a curve.
They have to back in on the curve, I think that's problematic.
And if you make these adjustments, then where will it be?
It'll be up here. Here's the front door,
Yeah,
and historically it's been right here, so you go in the front door and out.
so there's a wall here that's gonna be taken down?
Yeah, all right, so here's the architectural
Yeah,
drawing.
right?
Here's the utility room, here's the
And that's
meeting
what
room.
it
You can put that out to bid just like it is.
Yeah.
That's it, we're going out to
Okay.
bid like that, so this is a room that would
So
go
it'll
away.
be in the, okay.
Yeah. So,
There's that utility room's got some decent space in it. I mean, it's gonna be 8 feet in
yeah,
depth.
probably 12 by 12,
Okay, 12 by 12,
I would think, yeah. So, anyway, I'll keep you informed on that. Let's see, we have the Conservation Commission here. Beach Director, what I wanna do is, next meeting, get a review of the job description, and then get that job posted. And then, the last thing, we got a letter from,
We had a letter from someone on that, did you send her an application?
I told her we wish you'd done the list.
An
Yeah.
application once we have a job
Right.
description.
Yeah,
Maybe send it out at the same time that we post the whole thing.
right, yeah. We got a letter from Brent Gray about snow plows, rocks and dirt being pushed down the road onto his lawn. Talk about putting signs or little markers out to delineate the road. And the driver did not tell him where to put the snowplow markers, so.
So how far, do you know how far is it from this dash line, which I assume is the edge of the road, and his property? Like, what's this?
I think you have a scale there somewhere, don't you?
Yeah, but a copy doesn't always mean it's still to scale.
Right.
And what that is, that's just this is really the key thing, yeah, as you're asking the
I
question.
mean, I drove by there tonight, I saw
is
where the
that?
plows have
Right,
taken out some of the embankment, I saw where his posts were,
yeah,
but they were only
that far off the road.
maybe, 6 to 10 inches.
Right.
So is where he put those stakes his property or
No,
town?
it's in the right of way. So, and apparently from that, I'm not exactly sure, I mean, the stakes aren't shown on this map,
Right.
but you can see the right of way is quite a ways off the road edge.
Yeah.
And people do that, and it's, you get 2 feet of snow, and you have
know.
more snow coming, it doesn't do
It
well.
has to get pushed back.
It doesn't do well for fiberglass stakes there. Plus, it's very hard for our drivers, I mean, because the stake's down here, and you got 10 feet of plow.
Yeah, well, plus the
And-
hillside's on an angle, and your plow's plowing at a right
Right.
angle.
And part of the problem, I mean, to be fair, because Jim said he did talk to Ben about this, and we've had a problem, I mean, 2 problems. One, Jim's been laid up, so we've had a substitute driver. Second thing is we've had a mild winter, so whenever we have mild winters, if the ground was frozen, you would not have this problem, but all over Cornwall Village there is. In other parts of town, including my front yard, and myself, everybody that's been plowing snow knows it's very
The
hard to
ground's
plow.
not frozen, you're gonna just dig it right up.
Right, and I think generally it's not a great thing to have stuff, because I've also got complaints from people on the other side of markers falling into the road, and then it narrows the road. I mean, I've been on one narrow town road where I could barely drive because it
Bottleneck down.
yeah, I couldn't get through in my van, so it bottlenecks the road down. So I think in general, it's not great to put
Think it's
potential hazards in.
Helpful to sort of give them some guidance,
Yeah, I
to an
mean,
extent.
in a good year, the guys know where the edge of the road is.
Right.
In certain areas, in this last storm, we went all the way off this side of the road, I mean, in a bad situation. But I think in general it's not good, because we've had people put rebar up on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's what I
That's definitely not good. And I think that's why there's a right of way there, is because if we had to accommodate everybody's own ideas, it'd be very hard to maintain roads.
Well, right there, that road, you can get 2 cars by each other, but not with a whole lot of
Right.
extra room. So
And
you
nobody
need to-
wants to hit, I mean, the plow doesn't care whether it hits it, but cars don't want to hit these markers, so they tend to go out in the middle of the road, so then somebody else comes, and it's not a great setup. So,
The cars don't wanna hit the snowbanks either.
Right. right,
They
the
don't wanna
car,
hit the snowbanks, they
they
just
want-
want, they wanna be able to get down the road with
Yeah, they don't wanna
couple
run
of
up
feet
against
on
the
you.
bank either, yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry this has happened to Ben, but I think it's not nearly as problematic as he may be expressing. Yes, there was some dirt moved, and it's unfortunate the ground wasn't frozen, but
Looks like it's within the town right away.
right. And it's very hard to, yeah, I mean, it's important for the town to maintain the right of ways too. for these exact reasons.
Yeah, well, I
And
imagine in
people,
the springtime, the guys are gonna go make sure that it's stabilized. I mean, they're not gonna
Right.
want it getting washed out either.
Right,
Then
but
they
they're
have
not
more of a
gonna,
problem.
they're not gonna reseed every piece of
No,
lawn that's
no,
gonna
no,
go.
I'm not
But
saying
they
they're gonna
don't,
do
they
that,
don't
but,
wanna have the roads wash out.
right,
Right,
right, so they're at least gonna make sure it's, and it's a hill, so
right.
they're not gonna want a big gully of debris running out of there either.
Well,
Got
the winter time gives the landscapers lots of
It's-
spring work.
Right?
And many driveways, all the rest of
Yeah.
that.
I thought, I mean, when I got the letter, I thought for sure it was gonna be horrific, but, I mean, it looks like for what the guys had to work with, they tried
Right.
to minimize the damage. I mean, the ground wasn't even frozen, so I mean,
You're up
they're
against it.
coming up against, you know,
Right.
soft soil with a plow trying to
Right.
do what they can, and like I said, I mean, it's only.
And for a forecast of more snow coming after
They did.
the big one and the drift, we generally use
Thank
our
God we
big,
didn't get that.
we used our bigger plows on the more wide open areas.
Right.
We didn't roll back the village,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad, I feel bad for anybody that has to deal with it. It's winter time in Cornwall, Connecticut.
That's right. Spring's coming.
Yeah.
Okay,
It already came, yeah, right, yesterday.
all right, any other thoughts on that? Okay, public comments? Yes, Joanne, in front.
Since you obviously have some cursory familiarity with Robert's Rules of Order, saying that you know that they call for in a large public meeting standing up, you also know that in Robert's Rules of Order, it says that small group meetings can set their own rules and should do that. But as far as I know, that is the rule of meetings in the United States, is run by Robert's Rules of Order. And a point of order is, I mean, that would be like tossing out the Seventh Amendment to the Constitution because you didn't like it. I mean, a point of order is a point of order, and it should always be addressed. And I think the point of order there is something you recognized at your last meeting, is that you and Richard have a financial interest in the farmers market here in the village. And you recused yourself then, and you should have recused yourself tonight, and I believe that that motion should be withdrawn and resubmitted, because you had a financial interest and shouldn't have been voting on it. But I mean, Putin may be able to run his meetings by saying we don't do Robert's Rules of Order, but in the United States, we use a version of Robert's Rules of Order for public meetings, and I think that was an insulting comment to make to the audience.
Okay, anything else?
Should I go next?
Yes, Lynn.
Yeah, I hate to come to meetings. Hi, guys. Most of you know me, but I'm here tonight because of the rumors flying around town about the fact that I don't like Cornwall or West Cornwall. I'm trying to do in the Bend project and all did you read my letter that I wrote to the planning and zoning after the phase 1 was done? It was a personal history of the whole property there, and I sent copies to you all.
Right, I haven't heard any of those rumors, Lynn, so rest easy. I don't
Okay,
think,
that's
I don't
fine.
think you're anybody's
Okay, so to
bad.
clarify,
Right.
I'd like to clarify my thinking
Sure.
about all this.
Yep.
Besides my knowledge and the history of the area, and the fact that it is a brownfield, and the fact that the phase 1 that was done cannot now even be called a phase 1, is unfortunate, it's sad. I'm unhappy about that. I know that the environmental groups I belong to would like to see remediation of any contaminated site, and who knows what the contamination is there. However, that being said, I'm 100%, as I said in my letter, behind the newest proposal from the Housatonic Valley Association. I am backing that 100%. I like the plan. I've got the plan at my house. I've shared it with my neighbors.
Great,
They're all happy with it. It's the perfect plan for that kind of a contaminated spot because they don't have to really do a lot of digging except to replace what's already dug out with the drainage pipe.
right.
Okay, so nowhere, however, in the
proposal from the Housatonic Valley Association, their 36-page proposal, is there any required involvement by the town of Cornwall except getting approval from the land use commissions? Now, after 8 years of procrastination by the Housatonic Valley Association, they have a plan that's good, that's workable. The plan has been approved by the Cornwall Planning and Zoning. It has been approved by the Inland Wetlands, and it's been approved by the Housatonic River Commission. We've all signed off on it, so it's a done deal. They've got the money from the National Resource Damages Fund. And so I ask, where are the engineers? Where's the equipment? Why is the Housatonic Valley Association reluctant or unwilling to proceed with this restoration? And when will this work commence? In fact, I'm going to call them and ask them that. And I'm asking you tonight, why, when Cornwall was not mentioned as a part of this plan, why do they have to be in this now? This property, the Bend, they're two separate issues. The Bend issue that they made in the very beginning, Gordon, I talked to you. I said, HVA wants to do this whole thing down there. The town of Cornwall could do this. We could get the money from the natural resource damages. And you're like, yeah, I know we could. That'd be fine. It'd be a simple thing. And I said, and they're asking for $240,000. I mean, that's an awful lot. Well, they got that amount of money because they were going to put a handicapped ramp out for the fishermen. They were going to do all sorts of, they had, 36 pages, a lot of bells and whistles in there. But they came down with a practical approach right now. And it's good, and it should start, and it should not be contingent. I believe it should be done before Cornwall decides about whether they should lease or buy the property. Period.
Okay. Well, I would
And I
say,
love Cornwall, and I want Cornwall to
Yeah,
succeed.
I don't
But these are not contingent on each other.
right. I don't think anybody's questioning your love of the town. But I'd say this, it's been a very complicated
The
process.
Housatonic Valley Association made it complicated.
Well, I wouldn't say so. I think also part of it is because you, as we said, you had to go through 5 different government agencies to get approvals, and people, and the designs, I don't think it's fair to say it's procrastination, because as they went through that process, as do some projects, you have things they did take into account, people's ideas, and they have made the project better. So, I don't think...
My ideas, actually.
you can't...
For the material in the parking lot, this is
No.
going to be asphalt, and now it's not, and that's great.
So, so it's, you can't have a, I think you can't have it both ways. I think it has taken a long time, because also
All
we have the...
of these commissions in town signed off on it this year.
That's right.
Not last year, not the year before, not the year before that. No, this
Right.
year they signed off on it, and now HVA wants Cornwall to take responsibility for the entire property when they had an agreement, which was part of the proposal, a letter from CLNP, because CLNP was part of the 3 who came up with this proposal and were backing each other. And it wasn't Cornwall, they were not included in that.
Right, well, originally, when this happened, when this was first proposed years ago, we had a meeting down there with the HVA and the fly fishermen and the DEP, and originally I didn't want the town to do this, but the DEP said they did not have the resources to put in extra public facilities. They didn't have the resources to maintain the ones that they have now. And that was 8 years ago, and they've been cut since. So at that point, the project, and HVA also said they did not have the resources to be the ultimate custodian of the project. So you had the town, and you had the state, and you had the power
But
company.
Cornwall
So-
never agreed to be the custodian.
Well,
The HVA and CLNP, I just read through the
Well-
entire 36-page proposal one more time. And and then there've been corrections to it. And nowhere does it say the town of Cornwall should assume responsibility for the Bend part of this project.
Right, but without, the HVA did not want to have an ongoing responsibility.
So
for
they're
the
not gonna fix the erosion, fix the parking lot, and fix the access to the river
I think,
without Without what? They don't need, they've got the approval from everybody, they just need to do the job.
But in
And
order
do it, and I want them to do it.
for it to move forward on a permanent basis, HVA is not in the
Parking lot will be permanent once it's there. It's
Right.
better than what is there now. There's nobody's taking responsibility for that area.
And HVA isn't in the property, I don't believe they're in the parking lot business. So then it was
Their
left to the town.
engineers are, their engineer designed a
Oh.
damn good parking lot and they should do it.
Anyway, we're trying to get this to a town meeting as soon as we
I don't
reasonably
think
can.
the town needs a town meeting for HVA to do what their responsibility was, and I'm gonna talk to the trustees about it.
Right, well,
Because I know that there are 3 federal trustees involved in this. That's because of the money that's sitting there for them, that the town did not get involved in.
so, anyway, we're doing our best to move the project forward under
Well,
difficult conditions.
I'm gonna see what HVA can do to move it forward without Cornwall having to have their meeting that keeps being postponed, and what kind of money, what kind of money you talked to them today, and you said CL&P, but is it Eversource? It's all
Eversource.
Eversource.
Well,
So, he used to be CL&P when they did all their dealing, but, so how much money do they want from Cornwall?
no, I don't think there's gonna be major, it's a responsibility more than it is actually money.
Okay, then why don't they turn it over for $1, but the project at the bend should still go through, no matter who's responsible.
Well, you ultimately, you have to have somebody saying, I'm gonna take care of this in the long term.
Why? Nobody's taken care of it in the last 8
Well-
years. Nobody's done a damn thing to take care of it, and it's a mess.
But isn't that one of the points of the project?
Is to
Yeah,
make it
and
better.
they
to have-
should do it.
Is to have someone take care of it in the end?
Yes, and HVA promised all these people that we're gonna take care of it, and never did they say the town of Cornwall's gonna take care of it.
Well,
But now they're
that's-
saying that.
Well, no,
Now
that's,
they are.
they certainly said that to me, because
Oh, yeah,
and
now.
I've said that right
Great.
along. That-
Great.
No, I don't think it's a new thing, because that was the thing, that they were gonna apply for the grant, they would get the money, they were to construct the project, and the town ultimately would have to decide whether the town wanted to be
Well, they never
responsible
made
or
that
not.
public until just the last year, since since they all started all the process of getting the approval from the board. Never mind.
Okay,
Um,
any other public comment? Yes, Audrey.
I'm representing HEAL again in our membership. I sent a letter to the select board today with additional comments, mainly in updating the report and discussion 2 weeks ago for the last select board meeting. I reviewed the letter of opinion and our comments on it and what we feel about it. I do think it was kind of misrepresented that it was a phase 1, number 1, and number 2, it said that Klein Schmidt had signed off on this, and I felt that that wasn't quite true either. I mean, I read through his comments. There was a letter written 2 days after the select board meeting on the 7th. It was written on the 9th, and he basically has a few caveats in the letter. Just as I had said at the meeting, he suggested that Mr. Stromolo had provided a list of reports that he had done to show his experience and qualifications. We still don't have that. And I have other concerns. I'm just going to resubmit the letter. I don't want to take up your time. But one thing I didn't include in this, and it's because I'm not exactly sure of the facts on this, I've heard that Eversource CL&P has a power line across the property that extends over the river. So I haven't seen this mentioned in any reports or any discussions. So I'm assuming in any lease or sale or ownership that issue would have to be resolved about a power line going over the property and maintenance of that and the responsibility for it. Am I, correct me, I'm not sure. Does one exist?
I believe the power line does exist, it's not on this part of the property that would be covered by the Bend project.
Not
It's
the
close
Bend
to the
project,
water.
but it is on the 3-acre site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you
They
gonna
say-
go for ownership of the whole thing?
What?
So a town meeting will be to purchase the entire thing,
We
not
haven't,
just the bend
we haven't,
area.
we haven't even gotten to that point yet.
So nothing is gonna happen to the band? Absolutely nothing is gonna be done then?
I think we're still moving ahead on it.
I guess,
So-
I think HVA should move ahead on it.
so one question I would have is if you do, you have a lease proposal that maybe you want to take to the town, or HVA has a lease proposal, whoever is going to take the ultimate responsibility. So that lease would section off like an acre or an acre and a half and exclude the 3 acres?
Haven't even got
You haven't even
there.
gotten there?
Yeah.
But you're involved in discussion,
Right.
so I would assume that that's part of the discussion?
What are you trying to say, though? Where are you going with your?
Well, I'm
with
just
your
kind
thought?
of, I'm just trying to figure out whether, I mean, we seem to be speaking and arguing at cross purposes. I mean, I thought we were talking about a 3-acre site, but we aren't.
Well, even if we are, what's the purpose of what you're trying to say about some power lines?
Well, I wanted to know if any lease or sale, how something like that would, because it's not mentioned in any reports. I really was asking for clarification tonight, if that was in fact on the site, because no one has done any analysis of that. So,
I mean, there's power lines running right down the side of the road too, so, I mean,
yeah, but
Fairly
if you
common.
own or lease a site, there might be
But-
issues in terms of maintenance of it.
there is, and I'm sure if CLMP has power lines, they're gonna want to be able to maintain their power lines if they lease the property.
Okay, well, I'll just drop this off after.
Okay?
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time.
Yep. Okay, any other public comments? Judy?
A couple of things, gear dial-a-ride, I just wondered if the select board has made any other recommendations to meet the amount that the representatives requested when they came to one of your meetings? The increase that they asked for?
I believe we have their increase in the budget that they've asked for on paper, and I am going to meet up a gear with Bob Valentine and Kevin O'Connell, I believe it's on Friday, so we're continuing to work with gear to make sure we have a robust senior transportation system.
Okay, will that be, will that
So that's-
cross, purpose to the Cornwall Goshen bus?
No, I think what we're trying, I mean, they came here, as you probably know, and made a presentation that they felt that there was heavier than expected use of gear buses by Cornwall people in general. And we have a bus that maybe is less publicized or whatever, so we're trying to make sure that we work together in the transportation of Cornwall seniors. And that's as far as we've gotten at this point, is agree to try to, if our bus has some extra capacity and they are feeling over capacity or overused or something, then we're trying to make ours more used and theirs less overburdened, is our general goal.
For the component of the $1,000 to $2,000 increase that they've asked for, you're telling me, yes, the Board of Selectmen have endorsed that and have sent that on to the Board of Finance?
I believe so.
Okay, and as for bus usage, you're going to try and hybridize the systems somehow, keeping in mind that the Cornwall Goshen bus is a very different, is a wonderful service, albeit a very different entity from the Gear dial-a-ride service as it relates to compromised, frail elderly.
It is a fully handicap accessible van that's available.
It's curbside service only.
Okay, so there may be
Yes,
may be
gear
some
will go
difference.
down the driveway, and they do have a CNA if you need one to go
Okay.
with you.
So anyway,
So Gear dial-a-ride is door-to-door service. I would not accept my frail 90-year-old mother to not be escorted door to door. She's relatively robust, albeit wobbly. So she needs door-to-door service. We have used Gear dial-a-ride for over 10 years with immense success.
So I just pulled up the budget So 2015-16, they were budgeted 6,000, and so 2017-18, they are budgeted 8,000.
So they got the 2,000 extra.
2,000 extra.
Okay. And the
About
bus drivers for the
16,700.
Cornwall Goshen bus do not have anywhere near the amount of training that the gear dial ride bus drivers have. I called the Torrington Dispatch Center and had an unusually good interaction with the person on the phone. That hasn't been the case over the years. She was very informed, very articulate, very pleasant to deal with. But she, in no uncertain terms, said that their drivers are not supposed to get out from behind the wheel unless they have a wheelchair-bound person that they have to secure into the lift, up into the bus, and then should secure them into the bus. Otherwise, they're not supposed to leave from behind the wheel. They don't even have basic CPR training. So there's a real kind of different continuum on the scale of training between the two buses.
Is that something required of gear drivers, or just something that gear offers?
It's required. I drove buses for them
For gear?
7 years, for gear.
Yeah,
The
so it's
dial ride
required
and
to have
the- yeah.
CPR and to get out behind the wheel.
Yeah, they
and
did
help
CPR
folks.
training, training on how to even hook up oxygen tanks and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They have physical, mechanical, as it relates to physical therapy training on how to transport, how to transfer people in a good way, in a safe way. And I look forward someday to using the Cornwall Goshen bus. But if my mom ever went on it, I would definitely escort her literally by her side both ways, just to check it out. As for the Sidney K Fund, I have no opinion on the money from the Sidney K Fund. I've never read the mission of the Sidney K Fund and whether the money gets appropriated or not. However, indeed, I wasn't here at the meeting when both Gordon and Richard recused themselves from when the farmers market representatives came to ask for permission to use the green across the street. And you recused yourself because you had a direct financial interest, which I highly respect. But so what's changed now? Now that the same entity comes before the select board to request authorization for this $500, suddenly your conflict of interest as it relates to direct financial interest has evaporated. So, and now you tell me that you don't run your meetings under Robert's rules, so I don't even know how to act appropriately or how to interact appropriately during your meetings without some kind of Cornwall rule book on how you run your meetings. So I think you should have recused yourself.
We have public comment at the beginning of our meetings and at the end of the meetings, and because we usually have long, lengthy agendas that can go on for hours. We don't have public discussion on each point. These are public meetings, they're not public hearings. So we're, unlike a lot of boards, we have it at the beginning and the end of each session, so you can talk at the beginning and the end. However, we do not generally engage in debate point by point going down the agenda. And
That
that's
wasn't my
different.
question. My question was, I presented a point of order. I have never had a point of order in any meeting anywhere in the United States on any level of government ignored and denied. So you need to produce some kind of guidebook on this hybrid Robert's Rules of Order as it relates to the Town of Cornwall Board of Selectmen meetings, so that people know how to come in and how to comport themselves and how they're able to participate. And I think that motion on the Sidney K should be rescinded, and that you should reconsider and recuse yourselves and allow the remaining select person to make the decision. and I hope you consider that. And the website, as it relates to the agenda item on the Conservation Commission website, again, more confusion in that you're speaking as if the Board of Selectmen or the town of Cornwall has ownership or some kind of oversight on the website, and that's not my understanding. So the town of Cornwall, through the office of the chief elected official, has refused for over a decade to have an official website for the town and for the citizens. So now you have a board, a town board, come to the Board of Selectmen to inquire about the unofficial website that's not even owned by the town and has no jurisdictional oversight. So that's another confusing issue on the agenda.
Okay, any other public comments?
I apologize for confusing the issue.
I thought it was pretty straightforward, but so it goes. All right, so then our next thing is bill payment, and executive session, discuss real estate and tax.
That's it.